And staying with news about Pakistan, the begging bowl is back. Or maybe it never went away. Because despite what the Pakistan Prime Minister is claiming now, his speech is sounding more like a classic case of déjà vu. What did he say? In Quetta, speaking to a group of military officers, the Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said Pakistan's allies from China to Saudi Arabia no longer expect Islamabad to come to them with a begging bowl. Instead, he says they want trade, research, innovation. In fact, Sharif called China Pakistan's most time-tested friend and praised other backers like Turkey, UAE, Azerbaijan, saying they all support partnerships and not pity. Yet, the narrative being painted rings hollow, especially with a new $2.3 billion IMF loan on the table. This would be Pakistan's 26th IMF bailout since 1958. 26th. Can you believe that? After the Pahalgam terror attack, India had strongly opposed IMF's loan to Pakistan, warning the money could again be diverted to fund cross-border terrorism. The IMF said the financial support it gave to Islamabad was part of an earlier agreement. In his speech over the weekend, Sharif also referenced Field Marshal Asim Munir, saying both of them would be the last to carry this burden. But here's a reality check for the Pakistan Prime Minister. With dwindling reserves, high inflation, dependency on allies, can the begging bowl really be put down so soon? On the military front, Sharif admitted again that Indian strikes during Operation Sindoor caught Pakistan off guard. He recounted how missiles hit airfields in Rawalpindi and Noor Khan just hours before Pakistan was set to respond. But despite military support from its allies like Turkey and Azerbaijan, Islamabad was still left reeling, and how, after the May missile blitz. In conclusion, the begging bowl may be a metaphor that Pakistan desperately wants to get rid of, but it remains a reality the country cannot escape, at least not anytime soon. Not unless Islamabad finally uses the generosity of its allies to build something real for its people. But then, given Pakistan's track record, we won't be holding our breaths on that one. Poland has picked a first-time candidate as its next president. As one conservative president passes the baton to another, questions rise on what the new leader's policy outlook will be for the country and for Poland's warring neighbors, Russia and Ukraine. Our next report breaking it all down for you.
Poland has continued its tradition of keeping political power balanced. An intense runoff election on Sunday was followed by a victory of razor-thin margin for conservative candidate Karol Nawrocki. The right-wing leader, backed by opposition Law and Justice Party, secured 50.89% votes, putting a damper on his political rivals' premature victory celebrations. A former historian with a nationalistic outlook to Poland's past, Nawrocki hinged his election campaign on several key issues: a tough stance on immigration, opposition to wider abortion rights, and European Union's climate policy.
Zwyciężymy I ocalimy Polskę.
We are going to win and we will save Poland. We will not allow Donald Tusk to have a monopoly on power.
Władzy złej.
The conservative leader rode to victory with open backing from US President Donald Trump. Such was the support that Nawrocki made time for a quick US visit in the thick of election season, complete with a thumbs-up photo at the White House. Even US Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem made a special appearance at a conservative political action conference backing Poland's now president-elect. Nawrocki will succeed incumbent Andrzej Duda, a conservative leader himself who served as Poland's president since 2015. As Karol Nawrocki prepares to assume presidential duties, there are questions about what his election means for Poland's domestic politics and, more importantly, foreign policy. If there is someone watching Poland's political landscape closely, it is Ukraine's president. Volodymyr Zelensky was one of the first global leaders to congratulate Nawrocki on his electoral win. Perhaps Poland's future outlook towards Ukraine is concerning for Zelensky. Many political analysts sense a shift coming.
On the right, we are seeing a rivalry between the PIS, the party close to Nawrocki, and the Confederation, the far right, which is even more anti-Ukrainian than the PIS and is gaining in strength. The bidding war to see who can be the most anti-Ukrainian could unfortunately be one of the factors influencing Polish policy towards Ukraine.
Karol Nawrocki's stance on Ukraine has been crystal clear. The conservative leader supports the country's struggle in the ongoing war with Russia. But Nawrocki does not want to support Ukraine's EU and NATO accession bid while a war is still going on. Nawrocki's apprehension on Kiev's bloc membership bid does not necessarily mean a better relationship with Moscow. In his stint as a historian, the conservative leader reportedly led efforts to topple monuments dedicated to the Soviet Red Army in the country. In response, Russia put Nawrocki on a wanted list. While the election mandate keeps power split between a center-right government and a far-right incoming president, challenges increase for Prime Minister Donald Tusk as he faces the odds of a presidential veto on key legislation that may concern not just the people of Poland, but present and hopeful members of the European Union and NATO as well.
Moving on for now, pro-monarchy supporters have called off their protests in Kathmandu after the Nepal police released the RPP president Kamal Thapa and MP Deepak Singh, who were detained during Sunday's protests. The United People's Movement Committee that had initially announced the shutdown decided to withdraw the program after the release of these key leaders. However, pro-monarchy supporters are set to hold a meeting today to outline their next steps, signaling that the protest movement is far from over. On the fourth day of protests yesterday, pro-monarchy groups, including the RPP, clashed with authorities in Kathmandu. Demonstrators attempted to breach the security barricade and march towards the official residence of the Prime Minister. Amid this, the RPP Nepal chief and former Home Minister Kamal Thapa was detained for violating the restricted zone along with several others. Deepak Singh, an RPP leader and MP, was also taken into custody when he went to meet Thapa at the police station, though both were released a few hours later. Kathmandu Valley has been engulfed in persistent unrest driven by pro-monarchy protests demanding the return of the former king, Gyanendra Shah. On to the UK now. In a bid to push armed forces to a state of war-fighting readiness, Britain is expanding its nuclear-powered attack submarine fleet, building 12 new submarines and 6 new munition factories. Unveiling a new defence spending plan, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer shared details of UK's effort to revamp its military and nuclear preparedness. These changes are part of a defence review designed to prepare the country to fight a modern war and counter the threat from Russia.
And in order to make sure that that isn't the case, we need to prepare. But we cannot ignore the threat that Russia poses. We've seen what's happened in Ukraine just over 3 years ago. Those tanks rolled across a border, something I think all of us thought we wouldn't really see in our lifetimes, the invasion of a European country. Russia has shown in recent weeks that it's not serious about peace, and we have to be ready.
Starmer also said he wants the UK to be the fastest military innovator in the NATO, especially as he says the country faces the most serious military threat since the Cold War. Listen to this.
Announced today that we're going to build at least 6 new munitions factories in the United Kingdom, generating over 1,000 jobs. We will build thousands of new long-range weapons in the United Kingdom to boost European deterrence, supporting around 800 more jobs. We will defend our homeland by investing in our air and missile defence to better protect these islands.
Not just the UK, in a renewed push for defence spending in Europe, NATO defence ministers, in fact, are gathering on June 5 in Brussels to discuss military investments of member states. The NATO Secretary General has proposed that alliance members meet higher targets for defence spending by 2032. Despite cuts to the military budget in recent years, Britain still ranks alongside France as one of Europe's leading military powers, as it plans to spend about $2 billion on weapons upgrade. However, the question is, can the UK afford it, given its economic scenario and sustained underinvestment in the country's defence industry? In the 2023-24 financial year, the UK spent £53.9 billion, or $73 billion, on defence. In 2025 to 26, it's set to increase to £59.8 billion, or approximately $81 billion. And that is equal to a growth rate of 2.4%. Meanwhile, the UK Defence Secretary has said there is no doubt that UK defence spending will rise to 3% of the GDP by 2034 at the latest. And this marks a turning point for the UK. Over the years, you see, the UK army has shrunk to its smallest since the Napoleon era. And a defence push like this seeks to change that. Taking lessons from the Ukraine war, there is also renewed emphasis on UK's combat readiness, as well as industrial capacity to produce fighting machines.
Hybrid Royal Navy, blending drones with warships, submarines and aircraft to patrol the North Atlantic and beyond, supporting thousands of brilliant shipbuilding jobs, including right here in Govan. Under our AUKUS alliance with the US and Australia, we will now deliver up to 12 attack submarines protecting Britain's waters, scaling up the industrial base in Barrow and all along the supply chain to deliver a new sub every 18 months, again creating thousands of jobs.
India's northeast is facing floods as heavy rainfall continues to pound the region, killing over 30 people. Relentless rainfall triggered landslides, flash floods, rising river levels across Assam, Manipur, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim. In Manipur, the floods inundated the city of Imphal. In Assam's Jorhat, the overflowing Brahmaputra River has submerged lowlands, and posting a striking video showing a man risking his life to cross a heavily flooded river. Union Minister Kiren Rijiju has brought to light that Arunachal Pradesh has received the heaviest monsoon rains in the world. He also advised people to stay safe and assured them of government assistance. The Indian Met Department, meanwhile, has forecast continued heavy rainfall until June 5. Earlier in the day, the Indian Air Force was roped in to assist in the rescue operation in response to a request received from Assam and Arunachal Pradesh administrations. At least 14 people stranded on a tiny island in Arunachal Pradesh's lower Dibang Valley district have been rescued and airlifted to safety by the Indian Air Force. The Union Home Minister Amit Shah has assured of every possible help to the flood-hit areas. He also dialed the chief ministers of the northeastern states, asking them to arrange help and relief in the disaster-hit areas. In Assam, the heavy rainfall affected nearly 3.64 lakh people across 19 districts. The rising river levels submerged 764 villages, with over 3,500 hectares of farmland underwater. The Assam Chief Minister, meanwhile, visited the flood-hit areas promising comprehensive support to those impacted. The government has also announced rupees 4 lakh for the families of the deceased. More than 10,000 people have been shifted to relief centers, relief shelters, after 2 days of intense rain in Tripura. In Sikkim, over 1,500 tourists have been stranded in various parts, and the situation is looking to worsen further, should the rains not stop anytime soon.